Hey guys, welcome to my first Let's Play. I'm playing City Skylines on Xbox One. So here I'm going to pick River Run map. I didn't pick a name. I'm going to let you guys do that once I start getting lots of views and shit. So that way it's kind of all of our cities. I didn't enable any of the mods I have and none of the cheats and stuff either. But yeah, I'd like this channel to grow a fair bit. This is my first attempt at doing anything like this, actually. So, I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope it turns out as well as I hope it does. And as well as I think it will. So basically, in this episode, I'm going to go till the 1400 population achievement thing. Because I figured that was a pretty good place to leave off. So here, first of all, I've obviously gotta, finish the on and off ramps to the highway as the very start of the other city. So I have to start by doing that, obviously, so that way I get some more road options. I get two of the 6 lanes, 1 or 2 of the 4 lanes, and then a few of the 1 or 2 lanes. So here I'm just trying to kind of figure out sizing matters and math to try and keep it all somewhat symmetrical. I'm not the quickest at mental math, so it's taken me a little while. So this is going to be the main street, essentially. And what I want for the main street is I want as few intersections on it as possible. And I want as few subdivisions attached to it as possible. So that way I can keep the traffic flowing as smooth as possible. And the reason I do freeform here on the on and off ramps is just because I kind of like the way it looks when it's slightly angled. I don't know why. I just kind of like it. I'm rewatching this and editing while I'm recording this audio, and I saw myself make a screw up there. I thought I did when I was playing, but I wasn't 100% sure, but now I can see, oh man, that's pretty off. I might fix that in the next episode, if I can remember. So now, up in this corner, I'm going to make the industrial zone for now. I am going to move it, and I'm going to make it a greener industrial area, because I hate having the pollution. In the game, it's over-exaggerated, so it just destroys the ground way faster and makes it look real crappy real fast. So here I was going to go down pretty far towards the water, but then I decided since you have very little funds to start off, and I knew I was going to have to run my water all the way from the river up, it would be more cost efficient to just kind of start like this. And here I'm having some problems with the snapping. Don't worry, later in the episode I figure out what I did wrong and I fix it. But the reason I tried, it doesn't look like I tried that hard there, but the reason I tried to make sure it was lined up properly was because that way I can get the optimal amount of zoning possible. And as you could probably see, I kind of missed out on one square. And I wasn't cool with that, so I did fix it, don't worry. I wish I hovered over that for a second more so I could see how well that lines up, but I screwed up there too, so I'm going to have to go back there and fix it as well. But that's not going to matter too much because that's not going to stay industrial as it is now. I realized my screw up there, so I'm fixing it now. When you're going with the 6-lane roads, you have to kind of go 1 extra to get the optimal amount of zoning. See how I went 1 little tile extra there? That's so that way I could get the optimal amount of zoning. And I started down here because the snapping problem was going to stay like that. And these roads are overhanging a little bit here. but I do fix that towards the end of the episode. So here, this is going to be my residential area. I'm just starting off like this in a basic grid because it just keeps it neat, tidy, as symmetrical as possible, and it keeps traffic flowing fairly well. And that's going to be a huge problem here, especially as we start to grow rapidly, which doesn't quite start to happen in this episode, but it will happen in the next one for sure. We will start expanding insanely fast, but that's okay. I think I'll be able to deal with it. So there I'm putting down the power plant to start setting up my industrial, and then I like to set up my water beforehand and just kind of free-form it, so that way I can try to keep it as straight as possible. I didn't totally succeed in keeping it totally symmetrical, but it didn't turn out to be too big of a problem. I mean, it doesn't really matter because the only time you really see it is when you're in the pipe option. So I didn't see too much of a problem with it. So as I said, this is my first real attempt at anything like this. So if you guys have any suggestions or recommendations as to how I could improve my content to what you enjoy, feel free to leave a comment because I would love to make my content as good as possible. But yeah, I'm excited to start working on content like this because it's something I've wanted to do for a long while, but haven't really had the time or capabilities. But finally I've gained the capabilities and I still have the will to do it, so I figured why the hell not? Let's do it. So I gotta connect up my power, because otherwise if my water and stuff don't have any power and I run out of too much money, then I'm not going to be able to fix it, and then I'm going to be in debt, and then it's just going to be terrible and my city's not going to work out and I'm going to have to restart. And I do not want to do that, so I made sure to attach the power right away. It's not currently attached to where I just zoned for housing, but I do fix that as soon as people start moving in and as soon as I start growing demand for commercial and industrial. So here you can see that I didn't actually connect it with power, and when I did it I didn't totally realize, but then I realized right after that it wasn't too big of a problem because my other areas were going to start requiring buildings and start getting a higher demand, so I could fix that problem almost immediately before it really became a problem. So here I could already see that I screwed up on the roads over there, but not a big deal because I do end up fixing it. And one thing you will see me do shortly is I D-zone all the one tile up against the main road, because I don't like having houses and stuff have their driveways on the main road, because it just causes more traffic backups and it makes the road look all messy with all the extra people parking on it and stuff. So it's not too much of a problem until you get to the higher populations, but I would rather eliminate those problems before they can even become one. But that's just me, I guess. I don't know. Maybe some other people do that. And one other thing that I notice I do in the early stages of the game before I really have a big population is I go around and I change all the intersections and stuff to try and improve traffic flow, so that way I don't forget about it and have to try and remember later, so that way I don't have to go back and try to look through the mess of everything I've built so far. and try to fix intersections, because I find for me, if I don't go and change intersections as I expand, when I go back and look at how many intersections I have to change, it gets kind of overwhelming. The sheer amount of intersections I have to fix and change up. And by that I mean between lights and stop signs and where the stop signs are. Because, especially in the early stages, when you're using the 6-lane road, it automatically puts lights at all the intersections. And when you're just starting off, you really don't need that. Because you don't have a heavy enough traffic flow to really warrant traffic lights. Not even along the main road, because you just don't have the amount of people in your city for traffic lights. So I do change it to stop signs. And here I went into the negative money, but again, I wasn't worried about that because I already had all my essentials, and I knew that I wouldn't overexpand my industry or residential or commercial in the time that it would take for me to start making positive money again. So that's not much of a concern, especially in the very start. Later on in the game, it can become a big problem, but it's not too much of a problem in the start of the game. It might slow you down a little bit from being able to build like a hospital or a school or something. But honestly, it doesn't really matter in the beginning of the game. See, here's where I looked and I saw that that person's driveway was on the main 6-lane road, and I didn't like that, so I changed it. And here I don't change it because I'm going to make the first 4 tiles along the major road commercial, just like I did on the other side of the major road, on the north side. And in the game, I don't really know which way is north, but I always try to say north is, aiming towards my on and off ramps that I start with. So north is the way the camera's facing right now, and then vice versa, south is the opposite way, and stuff like that. Because I find it just kind of makes it simpler sometimes, but I don't know, might make it easier for references sometimes, because I can't just point at my screen and assume you guys know where I'm pointing. Especially since I'm recording the audio as I'm watching it back in editing, so wouldn't be the easiest of things for me to do. So here I go through and change all the intersections, because eventually it will become a problem, and again, I don't want to have to go back and change it afterwards. I left that one as a light because I figured that one's going to have to be a light no matter what anyways, because it's 2 major roads intersecting. So I figured I might as well leave it there to start, because it won't cause too much of a traffic problem having one light there. So, and there we go. I hit the first milestone of 460 people, which gave me a decent boost in money. It unlocked healthcare, the first loan, and it unlocked the public elementary school. I don't believe I placed the elementary school in this episode, because every time I remembered to, I didn't have enough money. But that's okay, because I'll place it the second I start playing again, and it's not much of a problem, because I don't have too much of a demand for it at all right now, even by the end of the episode. So here I'm just going to slowly keep up with the demand. I don't like overzoning, because then it can take a while for it to get demand again. And then you're just kind of sitting there waiting for a while, bored. And I don't want to do that, because I get bored sitting there doing nothing for a while too. Just sitting and watching. And I feel like for a YouTube video, it would bore you guys a fair bit. In the next episode, I'm going to be expanding towards the other side of the river, because that's where I'm going to do my industrial area. I believe I'm going to make it forestry. Either I'm going to make it forestry or farming. I haven't decided yet. I got to look at what areas I have in the second tile that I got to see what kind of industrial area would be best. I don't like doing the normal industrial because I just hate the amount of pollution it creates, and it's gross and people hate it. And I don't blame them because I don't like it at all. But, you know, it's something you have to live with for the first little while of the game until you unlock zoning and unlock zoning specialties. So, but that's okay. So the major road I have going down the center of my city right now is going to connect up with the other highway on and off ramp on the other side of the river. And that's what I'm going to be working on in the next video as well. I created the bridge in this episode, but that's it, because I wanted to save something and kind of set a goal for the next episode, which will be moving my industry to the other side of the river and making it green. I'm going to try and plan my YouTube channel out to make about one video a week for you guys of City Skylines to start. And then later on, if you guys want to see some other games, want to see me do some other Let's Plays and stuff, let me know. And I'll see if I can do them or not. Because obviously I only have certain games. I don't have every game that everybody else is going to have. So here's where I kind of thought about making all that commercial for the first time, but I looked at the demand before I dezoned all that residential, and I thought better of it because the demand wasn't there, and I hadn't expanded my residential area yet, so I decided against doing it right then and there. So that's the other square that I buy, the one that I was very quickly on. The reason I was only very quickly on it was because I wanted to see if I actually had unlocked it yet or not, which I hadn't, so no point in hovering over it for too long if I know I can't buy it. And there we go, milestone number 2, 900 people. So that gives me another decent boost in money. It gives me the ability to buy the second tile, so buy the second tile I did. I don't do much with it in this episode, actually nothing with it, really, but that's fine because I wanted to save that for next episode, as I've already said. So here I up the taxes because you can kind of put the taxes up to like about 12, 13, and the people won't get too angry about being overtaxed, and you can make a little more money on it, which is nice. I don't do that in every city I do. Sometimes I leave it at whatever it was set at. But for this one, I decided, yeah, I might as well change it up and do what I did. So now police and fire are always a very needed thing. So I'm placing them now. I had a tough time trying to figure out where I wanted to put the fire department. But it'll get moved eventually anyways, probably, so it doesn't totally matter at this point where it goes, because pretty much no matter what, it's going to cover your entire city, which is really what matters in the end. So as long as you have good coverage pretty much everywhere, you're fine. So here my commercial demand, is going up a fair bit. So I dezoned part of it to add in and start making up for the demand that I have. I don't care if the commercial buildings have their driveways on the major road. That's kind of what I'd rather. because you don't park on the street usually. If they have a parking lot, you're going to park in the parking lot, so it doesn't create too much backup on the street. So now I'm kind of just stuck waiting to make some more money, so that way I can expand my residential area a little bit, because that will become a very necessary thing to do shortly, which is a good thing. Again, I'm not expanding too fast, not right now, but I find usually after the 1,400 people mark, you start expanding a lot faster. So here's where I look at to see, I placed that so that way I could start making more residential zone, but then here I start looking at what the bridge might look like and how I could do the bridge and stuff like that. I know I don't have the money, but I'm not worried about that. I just wanted a general idea of where the bridge was going to lay and where it was going to chill for the rest of its days until I decide to change it up if I do. So now I'm going to expand my residential. You can see there I made it sure that I got optimal coverage of the zoning there, because I don't know, I find it silly not to, because then when you find yourself desperate looking for space, when you don't have enough money to build more roads and stuff, you need as much spots as you can get. So that's why I do it the way I'm doing it. In case you wanted an explanation. Yeah, I quickly decided against doing a road throughout the middle. If I do one throughout the middle, it's only going to be connecting the residential streets to the residential streets. It's not going to connect to the main road because, again, I don't want too many connections. And I'm going to end up changing up the residential area a lot, because as I'm rewatching this and editing, I see a lot of areas where I could improve it and just make it better in quite a few areas. So I figured, why not do that? Always got to make sure to expand your pipeline, so that way you always have enough water going to where you need it. And here you can see that it's not perfectly square, which is pretty annoying, at least to me. But I got over it and I stopped caring too much. And I figured I'd overexpand it a little bit because I'm going to end up going there anyways, so why not? On the left side of that major road going towards the river, I'm also going to make residential. And then up by the highway is going to be all commercial and stuff like that. But that will come later. I have to move that industrial area to the other side of the river before I can do anything like that, so. Slowly gaining people. I'm waiting to gain money and waiting for my demands to change so that way I can actually do something. Again, the first, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes of the game is relatively slow and kind of boring. But here's where I screw around with the bridge a little bit more to see, you know, what I can do with it, how I can make it look. So what I'm trying to do here is I was trying to get those posts that are at the bottom of the bridge to be about equal lengths from the water as each other. Isn't the easiest task, especially when your bridge isn't going 90 degrees across the river. But I eyeballed it pretty good, I think. I do end up putting that bridge in this episode. but I had to fix this road first. This is where I saw how badly I screwed up here. But it didn't end up being too much of a problem. It only took a couple seconds to fix. And I have to redo that as well. I didn't leave it broken, I fixed it, but I have to redo it to make it look better because I kind of did a really messy job on it. I just did that as a very, very temporary fix to keep water going while I continued to do whatever I wanted to do. This is what I mean when I said I like going and changing up the intersections as I go, because I just find it easier. So here I'm doing the same thing I did on the opposing side of the street, where I'm just dezoning that one square that's up against that major 6-lane road, so that way people don't build their driveways up against it. Because again, it builds up that traffic and parking on the street, and I just really don't like it. That was kind of a weird sound, not gonna lie. So as we come to the end of the video, just looking out, deciding if I should build that bridge or not in this episode. Slowly waiting for my demand to go up so I can start expanding on my zones. This building caught on fire for a brief second, so I figured I'd zoom on in and watch the firefighters put it out. Because why not? And in the next episode, when I start doing the industrial zone, I think I'm going to try something new that I've never really tried before. And I'm not going to spoil it. And I'm not even sure if that's how I'm going to do it or not, but it's how I'm thinking of doing it in my head right now. But either way, we will see when it comes to that time. And there we go. The final benchmark in this episode that I hit. You unlock a bunch of stuff in this one, in Tiny Town, which I'm really happy about. You unlock a lot of very interesting things, but I didn't really care about any of that because the half hour of my episode was almost up, so I decided, screw it, I'm just going to kind of leave it here. And I'm really happy with how that bridge turned out, honestly. It turned out finishing relatively perfectly flush with the terrain on the opposite side, which was just incredible. So as I pan through my city here, if you guys have any questions, concerns, suggestions, or anything, leave a comment, because I will read them all if you guys leave comments, and I will try to improve wherever I can, because I want to make the best content that I possibly can. I want to thank you guys very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.